Hello, I'm Kylie Allen, and welcome to the Positive, Passionate Businesswoman Networking Group for women all over the world who want to connect, collaborate, and grow their businesses so they can give more. Our Hello You podcast is all about getting to know our huddle members and other amazing women doing incredible things in business. And if you'd like to explore joining us, you can find the links in the description. We know that it's more powerful to collaborate than it is to compete with each other. And when women work together, amazing things can happen. Enjoy our latest episode. Hi there, and welcome to Positive, Passionate Businesswoman. And this is the Hello You podcast. And it's all about the Let's Get to Know Who's in the Huddle series. So today I'm here chatting with the amazing Taga. She's the owner and founder of Your Mobile Money Bestie. And we've just been gas bagging before we came on live because there's always so much to chat about with Taga. And so welcome, Taga. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
So good to be here.
And where are you zooming in from in the world?
I am zooming in from the land of the Yugambeh language people of the Bundjalung Nation, Bundjalung country, which is Gold Coast.
And I'm also on Bundjalung country, but just below the Gold Coast in northern New South Wales.
Wow.
Magical spot we're in with our little heat wave going on at the moment. Today's been a lot. A lot. But very good, considering it's autumn, it's nice to have some really sunny days, isn't it?
I love autumn. It's just that sandwich in between really, really, really hot and cold. So you get to do a bit more.
My favorite season. So tell me, first of all, I'd love to know, and for you to be sharing, what is Your Mobile Money Bestie and how did you get into it? And I know that it's going to be your full-time gig in just a couple of weeks, which is so exciting. But first of all, tell us what actually it is.
Yeah, so there is a little bit of a story. I'm just going to cut straight to it and what inspired me to start it. So I had a lot of financial hardship myself. About 18 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And shortly after that, a couple of years after that, we were forced into financial bankruptcy. And this was despite having a background, would you believe, in banking and mortgage brokering. And so going through all of that trauma, and I'm just going to really cut it really short, I was able to come back after the treatment, after the chemo, after the radiation therapy, decided, okay, I need to do something that's a lot more heart-centered. And I discovered financial counselling was a thing, which is a free government service here in Australia, which turns out it's actually has a version in most countries.
Wow.
Really weird. And so I've worked with hundreds of families. And of course, with COVID, what I started to see was there was this real deep money shame coming through. And it was the same. I could relate to that. We don't talk about the things that don't go so well about money. It's not really supported in society. Like you hear all the good news stories. And so there was one particular client who, just a little bit of a trigger warning here, she'd lost her daughter, a teenage daughter, a couple of years before. And she had a younger daughter that she was trying to get back on her feet, going through that trauma. Husband had lost his job, casual. And she's telling me all this stuff. And I said to her, how do you get through this? And she said to me, Taga, what can you do? Like, I just go behind closed doors, I close it, I do the ugly cry, make sure daughter's okay, and I suck it up and come back out. And so when she told me that, oh my goodness, my heart just cracked open, because that was me. That was me trying to suck it up and keep things appearing to be like, you would have looked at me and you wouldn't even have thought what was going on. My family had no idea because we pushed the shame down. And so you just get on with it. And so Your Money Bestie was pretty much even worded off the back of that experience was, when you're behind closed doors on your own, here's your bestie to pull out, because we generally have our phone, and she's the one that's used to the ugly cry, and you can look at it and know, you know what, you're not on your own. So here's some resources. So there's actually resources in there that we're building. It is actually something that's building. I've got most of the countries in there, but as members come in, they're like, Taga, we haven't got anything here for, say, Ireland, and so we get to build all this stuff together.
So it's an app, is it?
It's an app. It's an actual app. And the idea why it's different from a website was I found one of the things, the issues that we had with certain platforms was you could be walking along and you want to listen to it. Let's say I'd be walking along and want to listen to something, but it would shut off. Like I couldn't even hear the audio unless the screen was up. So this particular app has an audio version as well. So you can have it walking along without having to watch anything, but listening. So it just gives you a little bit more options in terms of being able to connect to the lessons. And it's very much focused on what we call a trauma-informed lens. So it's really bringing in what's going on in my body, what's actually keeping me so stuck that despite all the theory that I'd known out of the bank, I still failed miserably with my finances. And what I discovered was actually there was a lot of systemic issues, so things that I had grown up in that contributed to my short-term thinking. So yeah, we go into a lot of depth and education around that before we jump into the budget. So normally if you go to a bank or something like that, they'll go straight to your budget. So when you're in a response where you're triggered, your thinking brain's not engaged. So I remember talking to someone on one of the crisis lines, and I said to her how much we were going through a budget. And she said to me, oh my God, Taga, I'm so stupid. How can I not remember this? This woman just spent 20 minutes talking about all the trauma she'd just gone through. And I actually said to her, you know, your body's actually doing what it's meant to do. It's shutting off your thinking brain because it doesn't actually know that what you've just described to me was actually in the past. So let's do some breathing. Let's get you resettled and grounded. And the minute we did that, right, heck, that was 2 minutes. She was able to rack everything off easily. She knew it, like most people do.
So with this app, so is it a subscription app? You pay per month or something to have access to it? And is it available on both platforms?
It is. So it's on Apple and Google.
Well done. What a ginormous feat. That's fabulous.
It's been amazing. It's gone through a few iterations because we really wanted to make sure it was available to as many people as possible. So it is actually, we're rolling it out. The first 100, it's going to be $8, $7.99, but $8 a month. Aussie dollars, that is. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world, it'll translate it down. And so the first 100 downloads will get that for life. So it's meant to be at the $20 mark, but we're doing it at $8 because I want as many people coming in there and helping me shape it so that it is reaching as many people as possible.
Oh, what a fabulous human you are. I'm so excited for you. And I know that I've never built an app, but I know people that have, and the process apparently can be quite challenging. So well done.
And that part, I can tell you, is not my zone of genius. I can talk to people really well, but yeah, so no, had a lot of help to do that, and it's amazing.
Good for you. That's just fantastic. So tell us, Taga, something interesting about you that most people don't know.
Well, you're looking at me now, 30 kilos lighter than I was 12 months ago. And
12 months.
Yes. And okay, some people would call it cheating, but I ended up having a stomach thing done. And the reason for that was, and here's the link, I was an emotional spender, just as I'm an emotional eater. And so I will get stressed, or I get happy, or I get bored, and I eat. And so a lot of the things that I was doing, and here's the saying, you know, how you turn up in one area of your life is often how you turn up in other areas. And so, you know, it took a lot of trying different things right through my life. yo-yoing, and not realizing that there was actually a lot of emotion in that as well. And that's where I link the two. There's no shame in that. It's just recognizing how your body actually works and go, oh, so there's nothing wrong with me. My body was doing what it's meant to be doing. And now I get to honor it because I'm listening to it more.
I know a lot of people that have done it, and I'd have to say every one of them would say it's certainly not the cheat way. That's also not an easy journey to.
Yes.
But do you
this
feel
is little Chase. Chase seems to know when I go online. He's like, I want a piece of that.
So do you feel really good now, Taga?
Amazing, because it used to be really painful to exercise and things like that, but now I get to just do that, and from a perspective of sustaining where I'm at, as opposed to trying to work so hard again and pushing my body to do things that it wasn't really capable of doing. But again, there's a lot of consumerism and stuff that we see out there. You and I are talking about, wait, we'll go into social media, and what's the first thing we'll start to see when we scroll? All of a sudden, all of the things come up around how to eat properly, how to diet. And by then my stomach was so big that I couldn't even control that.
Definitely problematic, isn't it? That listening in and then feeding you the ads or the posts according to what they've heard you say. It's an interesting one.
Oh, it is. And here's the thing, that's actually one of the traumas that we talk about. So there's like 6 different ones that are happening and spinning in the background, and we actually have no idea about it. But what it does do is that once you start to realize, oh my goodness, it's liberating. It's liberating to understand, because there's so much narrative out there on shame if you try something and it doesn't work or whatever, as opposed to it being a learning curve. It really helps you to get a different perspective.
I think anything we can do that helps us understand ourselves better is so important, so important. So do you have a mantra or a quote or even a word of the year that you live by?
Oh, the thing that one of my coaches last year said to me, Taga, the messier it is on the outside, the deeper you go on the inside. And so for me, it's financial is an inside job. It's what's going on in the inside. So money and your financial position is often just a symptom of what's going on around that. I'll use an example. Let's say, for argument's sake, we have gone out, you're driving along and you get into a road rage situation, or you see something happening. It doesn't even have to have happened to you. But if you see something happen, it can throw your system out. And sometimes that can turn into self-soothing. So I've talked about my eating to soothe. Some people shop to soothe. Right? So it is an insight. Once you start to heal what you really need to nourish with, and let me tell you, you may not even need to spend to find what it is you really need. That younger child of you, or the younger version of you, might need some love. What does that look like and feel like if you were to take a moment and just love on yourself and walk outside?
Yeah, what does that mean? Because that'll be different for everybody too. It could be
absolutely
a bath, or it could be a walk on the beach, or there's all food, right? Wine.
Yeah. That was mine too. And Kylie, the thing is that we honor our system in whatever choices we make, because when we do that, we're not suppressing. And I'm 57. I'm just learning the full spectrum of emotions, because we grew up in a generation where we had to suppress, suck it in.
Yeah.
Don't do that, So these difficult emotions that our adults or influencers around at the time, struggled with that as well. So kids having a tantrum in a shopping centre and what comes up in your mind? Is there judgment, or is there the urge to go and hug that child and let them know it's okay?
Oh, it's so interesting, isn't it? This generational thing, and then how are we dealing with that, and are we taking the stuff that we took from our parents and then carrying that on through, or are we actually able to choose the bits that we take and carry on through? Like, I know we talked about this in our meetup the other night where you were our guest speaker, about the stuff that we're bringing in, especially around money, and the not talking about it, and the not having a clue where your parents were at with money. And it hasn't really served us, has it?
Yeah, and it's also, I've had to do a lot of healing in that space, because I got judgmental. Why didn't we do it this way? Why didn't we do it that way? And I had to go through a process of just going, you know what, they were doing the best they could. Like, they had migrated from a small little village into the big smoke of Wellington in New Zealand, and working lots of jobs to do the best that they could for us. But again, I mentioned before, there's intergenerational trauma that gets stamped on our DNA. There's a study called epigenetics that studies this thing. So we may not even know what the story is, and we don't need to know. It's just knowing that, oh, okay, our system's protecting us from something right now. Let's just take a moment and breathe into it.
I love that you've said that they're just doing the best that they could do. I really, really strongly agree with that. And I know it'll be the same for us and what we've done with our children.
Yes.
And we've just done the best that we could. A number of years ago now, my daughter would have been in her early teens, and she was having a chat with me with a couple of her friends about the mess that my generation has created in the world in terms of plastic. And I said, I agree. And she's like, oh, and they were all saying, oh, now our generation's got to deal with what you created with the plastic. And I'm like, you're so right. You're totally right. But keep in mind that we were just doing the best that we could with what we knew at the time. And I remember the day that our supermarkets in Auckland changed from brown paper bags, which were a pain in the butt, because you'd be walking home with them and the ice cream would make them wet, so they'd fall out the bottom of the bag, and
the meat.
They were too heavy to break the bottom of the bag. And then remember when it changed to those single-use disposable plastic bags, we did not think about the horror that we were creating for the world and for the environment. We just thought how awesome that was, that we were going to lose our groceries out the bottom of the brown paper bag. So we don't know what we don't know, and we're just doing the best at the time. And I think that was wonderful that you've reiterated that, because it's in so many areas, isn't it? That
absolutely,
we're just doing our best. So what would be your top tip that you could share about being a woman in business?
Oh, that is a really good question. I think probably, and this is my own experience, is keep going. And Stephen Covey says this. I think I forgot what it was called during our live, but Stephen Covey said this: start with the end in mind. And I would always reiterate, keep reminding yourself what that North Star is. And so you get to just keep measuring where you are, looking at whether it's on track to what you want to achieve, because this doesn't just apply for actions. This also applies with how you invest your money, how you spend your money. And it could be that if you are getting sidetracked by some shiny objects thing that comes up that says, whoa, you should do this to make your first $10,000 in the next month, you get to take a moment and step back and go, hold on, is that really what I need? Or is it because I'm feeling a bit of scarcity and fear going on that my business isn't, outputting what it should be? So I always do that, is to go back, wait, is this in alignment? Is this really what I wanted? And just do that pivot, constant pivot to check where you're at.
Oh, I think that's so wonderful. You really need to be nimble, don't you, to be able to keep pivoting. That's one thing we certainly learned from the pandemic, was that word pivot, and the importance of not just drowning in the horror of, well, this has happened and so I'm stuck, but actually learning to do that little pivot and look for the opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. And just keep moving forward. And there's going to be a backward step. But, Steve Jobs says it, you don't know until you are joining the dots looking back. So there's going to be a certain amount of faith you're going to need and just enough light that shines the path in front of you to move forward. You're not going to have all the pieces yet.
Absolutely. Beautifully said, Taga. Just beautiful. So tell me then, how can people get in touch with you and how can they find your app, especially so they can be one of those first 100 people?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got a link we can drop in there somewhere, and that will just give you access to, because at the moment, we're just taking expressions of interest. Fabulous. So if you want to register, pop your name down for it. It'll be rolling out. Doors are opening on the 20th of March. So there's plenty of time to get in there. There's already 20 on there. So get in there. But look, it's a unique approach. This is what people are looking for and this is why it took me so long, because I'm like, what about budgeting? Why is it that not many people, like your weights in a diet, the scales aren't always the answer? And so if you're an emotional eater or emotional buyer or spender, out of control, wanting to please people, chances are it's more to do with an inside job, that you need to do some work, that you need to heal what it is that is, before we even look at the money literacy. So it's actually a combination of both things together in the one place.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Taga. I know there's going to be so many people desperate to jump on that amazing offer for that app, and that is such a good deal and so generous of you. I can't wait till the 20th of March when it launches. How do we get involved in hearing about the launch? Will it be on your socials?
Yeah, it'll be on the socials. It'll also be, so the invites will go direct to the people that have registered, of course. That'll go out first and then onto the socials. And I'll be doing lots of reels, getting out there, getting back into online space. But my personal profile is where I do everything from there. So Taga.Iose. So if you just want to jump on there, friend me on Facebook, you'll be able to keep up with what's happening as well.
Fantastic. Well, that's awesome. I can't wait to see it all unfold for you, Taga. It's really exciting, and I'm super thrilled for you. And thank you so much for joining me and having a little bit of a chat about what it's all about. I look forward to our next catch up, and hopefully we'll do that after you've launched and see how it's rolling.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kylie and Hello Media. It's been amazing to be connected as well.
Oh, I've really enjoyed it too. And we're so happy to have you as part of the Positive Passionate Businesswoman Huddle.
Yay.
So welcome. Thanks for being here with us. And I look forward to catching up with you soon.
Awesome.
Thanks, Taga.
Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. Bye-bye.